Good morning from Barry in my wonderful garden here in Malahide, Dublin, a little suburb outside the city. And what a beautiful place this spring, although I'm in Australia in summer and it's quite warm. Anyway, today we're going to talk about powers of arrest. Now, you'll see on the media sometimes where the police will make the media will make an enormous announcements. Citizens arrest somebody and they hold them down and hold them for the police. Well, there's nothing mysterious about it. It's a right that every country has and every state. We're in Victoria, and if you have a copy of the Crimes Act 1958, it will explain it, but there's no need to go to that extent. You can download the information from Google or the Frog, right? Anyway, the difference between a citizen making an arrest and a member of the police force making an arrest. Now, the difference between the police, right? A policeman or a woman can arrest somebody on suspicion of committing an indictable offence. Now, an indictable offence means a serious offence, one that you go to prison for. There are lots of summary offences and trivial stuff as well. Now, if you do arrest somebody under Section 458 of the Crimes Act, or wherever act it is in your state or country, you must find them witness them committing that offence. Now, you don't go out and grab somebody for committing a minor offence, or some people like to apprehend people for drink driving. Well, just imagine you arrest somebody, you assume they're drunk and they're not, they're actually sick. Well, then it's going to come back on you and it's going to bite you right, and so it should. So if you see someone breaking a window, trying to climb over a fence with the intention of burglary, now you have to work out your intention, but if you know that certain people live in that house and somebody has just climbed over a fence and broke a window, well, that's finding somebody committing an offence, and a reasonable man will assume that. Now, if you see someone climbing over a fence into a property that's got chains on the gate, a reasonable man or woman will say, well, you're not supposed to be in there. You actually could ask them, and if they said, if they admitted they're breaking in, well, then that's finding committing. Now, when you find that person, you may tie them down, tie them up, but be careful. Now, if you have someone face down and you're sitting on them, they can't breathe. That person could die. I hate the term person, by the way. Well, we'll use person as a fiction anyway. So that person could die. So if you could tie their hands together and get them sitting up. Now, the use of force, if you find somebody committing an offence, when they're caught, usually they're pretty docile because they've been caught. But after a few seconds, when it sits into the skull, they can become very violent. So you've got to be very, very careful. If you can tie their hands together and sit them down, and you call the police. If you can get somebody else to help, which will be an absolute miracle, because people don't want to get involved, and then you're in very serious trouble again. Now, when the police turn up, don't get all upset and display that you're a total idiot, because they may come along and say, well, we've checked this guy out, and in our opinion, which is another fictitious word, that there's no offence being committed, and they let him go. But if it is an indictable offence, the police should carry out their duties. If not, they are perverting the course of justice. And you'll find that most police will, when they realise, yes, there has been an offence committed, they will apprehend them. The use of force. You can use whatever force necessary. Say, Section 462A of the Crimes Act says a person will use force not disproportionate. Now, the word not disproportionate doesn't really mean much to us, but in lay terms, it just means force not excessive, not extreme, over the top. So basically, you use as little force as necessary to apprehend that person. Now, you've got to make the decision before you tackle somebody whether you can actually carry out that arrest, because, if you're 5'7" and this guy is 6'7", and he outweighs you, you got to. It's common sense. It takes people who have been caught committing a crime are going to become pretty tough to handle, and you will see the police in some cases with there's 5 or 6 police trying to get handcuffs on somebody. So you have to make a decision. It's probably better in most cases to video the whole incident and keep it for the police. And that would be my advice, unless it's a very serious thing. Now, if you come across somebody who produces a knife and you're going to try to arrest them, I suggest you go down this path there and right around the corner and hide with the camera running, of course, because a knife is much more dangerous than a gun. Because once they start slicing into you, the chances of you dying is pretty high. Where if you get shot, well, there's one track through, and if you're lucky, it hasn't hit a vital organ or an artery or a vein, you may survive. So, in that case, if someone has a knife, you stay back. If you happen to have a gun and that person comes towards you with the intention of killing you, you can assume on reasonable grounds that there is a real and impending threat to your life and you may use deadly force. Now, that doesn't mean you can use a machine gun and shoot them to pieces. You fire one shot, and if that real and impending threat still exists, you may fire a second shot. And that's basically how it works. So remember, if you find somebody committing an offense, you've got to make a few decisions. Has an indictable offense been committed? You have witnessed it, and you have the capability of detaining that person for the member of the police force to continue the process with. So there's lots of new stuff coming up. Bill Turner is going to come on next week. This is the last day of January 2020. Next week, Bill Turner is going to do a series of little videos with me, and we'll have them up on the screen here, and we'll learn a lot more. Just remember, keep in touch with Bill Turner's videos. That's where you really will learn the law. Maritime law, which has been around for hundreds of years, is known as entrenched law. Not lawful, it's fiction, but it's been here for a long time, so it's like it's been cemented in, and the people in the system and in the court system totally believe that what they're doing is 100%. And if you ask them, what law is this the law of the land? They will say yes, because they don't know. The magistrates know, because the whole thing is based on fiction. Everything, most of the words they use is fiction, and we've been taken in by it, and we've accepted it. In most cases, the system itself even believes they're doing the right thing. Now, there is the Justice Act of 1903, Section 78B, which clearly states that when the Queen Elizabeth had been removed from the Constitution, their oath of office was removed. They have no right to sit there in the first place. Now, if a magistrate continues with a case in what I determine as the state bank, it's not really a court, it's a ship in dry dock. It's full of fiction. He continues that he is actually, or she is breaking the law, which is an indictable offense. They're operating now in a federal jurisdiction, so they have no right to be there. They refuse to accept the Constitution, the Queen being removed, so that's treason. So you can say to the magistrate, I'm going to exercise my right. You've left me no alternative. I have found you committing an indictable offense, so under Section 458, I now place you under arrest. Now, that doesn't mean you'd climb over the bench, the whole flaming thing, climb up into that box, which is isolated from the court, grab the magistrate, pull him out over the top, and handcuff him. No. You've told him, he knows it, he can see you, but being in a box, he doesn't really know you, can't hear you, there's no joinder, but we'll go through the motions. Now, you turn over to a constable, and the constable... Now, remember, when it comes to constables, now, this man in uniform may have several pips on his shoulder, or even a crown. Inspector, chief inspector, or senior sergeant, wherever the case may be, they're still constables at law. So you say to this constable at law, I have now arrested the magistrate, and if he's witnessed it, I want you to carry on the process of the law. Now, you've got to put yourself in the position of this man who's been in the job for maybe 20 or 30 years. He doesn't know what to do. He's not going to go out and arrest the magistrate. So you're in a bit of a fix if you have the neck to do it. Now, it has been done here in Victoria. It's been done quite a lot of times. Now, you'll find maybe the magistrate will get up out of his chair, walk out of the court, and a few of his little runners will go with him, and they'll go out to have a little chat. Now, there is a maximum 8, which clearly says, he who leaves the field of battle loses by default. So you might think, I have won, and you go outside and have a big clap and a laugh. but the magistrate comes back in under a different jurisdiction. Now, Bill Turner is a great man. He gave a great example. If you find a surfboard on the beach and it hasn't got a name on it, a title on it, it's salvage. You take it home, you can actually keep it. So now when the magistrate comes back in, you have become salvage on this ship. You're just a vessel. And all people are regarded as vessels and documents. That's why we put stamps and things. That's another story. Now when he comes back in, he's got salvage. So what do we do with salvage? We lock it up. We put it in jail if you're a human. So you must reestablish your right again. So now you become a sailor in part of the system. So you ask them for a remedy. And that usually does the trick. But that's a longer story. But as for the rest is concerned, you have arrested that magistrate, and there is a next process you can do, and that's something we're working on here at the moment. You need an affidavit, a charge sheet, and you got to take it back into their system, which, with the proper documentation, the proper stamps, and the proper seal, if they refuse to take it, they are committing an international offense. And we'll go into that later on. Anyway, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye for now.